Okay, the leaf blower is gone, so let's get back to this. First jumper skirt, this was $20, and I'm going to show you the bow first so we can get a sense of the palette. It's the polka dot skirt, or polka dot jumper skirt, and it's been very popular on their website. It's like on the very last page of the jumper skirt section. They've sold out at this point of pretty much every color except for brown and purple, but I think that this is a great brown. People have described it as a few different colors. I would describe this as very much like the lightest mocha. Like, you got a cup of coffee and then you poured cream into it, and you poured a good amount of cream. It's definitely a brown. It's not a khaki color. The white really contrasts it, but because it's very much a neutral color to begin with, it feels like the polka dots are really interesting, but sort of the dull brown color really stops it from being overwhelming. I can't speak for the purple, but I've heard a lot of people say that the purple is nice because it has a bit of a gray undertone. So a lot like this color, it doesn't hit you over the head, that's what I've heard. One more note. Most Bodyline bows, I would say, are not going to wowie zowie you when you take them out of the bag. Sometimes you need to fluff them. Like, I was waiting for the wind blower to go away before I started recording again, so I was actually pulling on this bow a lot to kind of fluff it up. When anything's packed and shipped overseas, it tends to flatten. And you'll even find this in the big brand name things. A lot of people will say things like, I just got a package from Angelic Pretty, and the bow is destroyed, or the bow is messed up. And people will say, don't worry about it. Just take the edges and pull them, and it'll sort of pop up. It'll become three-dimensional. Bodyline does sometimes screw up on the bows, though, I will admit. And if they do screw up on a bow that you get, I would say the best thing to do is actually to take it apart. For me, what I tend to do, I've done this already with one bow, it was pretty derpy looking. I just cut this middle piece of material, and then I used all of this to make a headdress to match back to the dress that it was originally for. So if your bow ends up a little messed up, don't panic. Look at it and consider your options, because you still might be able to make something out of it. You still might be able to use it with the dress, just not in the direct context of it's a bow. Alright, on to the dress itself. So, it's got, and I'll do more photos later. It's got this nice white bib here with a lot of lace, close above the lace. It has one bow on top here, and then two tonal white bows, and you have some rose lace, and then there's like some crochet, I think it's called rascal lace here. Sometimes there's a misconception that rascal lace is not as good quality as others, and really rascal's just a style of lace, and so rascal can run the gambit of all over the place in terms of quality. I would say that most of Bodyline's lace, including the lace on this dress, is good, and that's what I mean good. Like, if you were rating it between a 1 and 5 star, I would definitely give it a 3. Like, it's standardized, it's, you know, dependable, but it's not going to shock you or be like a super luxurious feature. The bust has princess seaming on it, and then the skirt is broken up into panels. An important thing I want to point out with this dress before we move on to something else is that an interesting style point that I've noticed with Lolita that really differs it from other fashions is that in Lolita, designers like to cover seams with lace, and that's sort of what a lot of the old school Lolita looks like, with the black fabric and then the white lace on top. So here on this skirt, there is a seam right under here because the skirt is made up of 4 pieces of fabric, 4 panels of fabric that are then sewn together into a giant circle, and then they're all gathered at the waist here. And you can see how it's bunched up right under the bustle. Or not the bustle, the bodice. So that it fits onto the bodice, but then, you know, so this is your natural waist, and then it poofs out, especially with the petticoat, it poofs out immediately. But so, this is where the seam for this panel is, and they've completely, you know, covered it up with lace. And I think that's an important thing in terms of trying to understand Lolita design, is to break it down to how do they construct it sometimes. The waist ties are sewn in, and they start out thin, and then they gradually thicken towards the end, and come off as sort of a rounded edge. It's not very clear, but it's a bit of a rounded edge at where it ends. The back has shirring and then laces, and so it has give to it. I'm gonna grab both ends of the shirring and see if I can, yeah, I can pull this a lot. Now it still has the ribbon on it, so I can't really experiment with how far you can pull it out, but in my past experiences with Bodyline, if it has shirring and lacing, it means the dress is usually actually 3 or 4 dress sizes in a single garment, because it can give, and it can expand, and it can also contract. This is a medium, and the reality is, my top probably would fit a Bodyline small better when we're talking about jumper skirts, not taking shoulders into account, but my bottom half has to be a medium. So I purposely bought this because it had the shirring and the lacing, because I have another dress in a medium, and with the shirring and the lacing, it can fit my top and my bottom, even though in Western clothing sizes, my top and bottom are sort of in 2 different universes. They're not remotely the same at all. And then just to finish this out, I'm gonna gather up the bottom, and it has 2 rows of ruffles on the bottom, with this very nice thicker lace here. I don't think this counts as rascal lace. This part is rascal lace. These 2 parts, I don't know what kind of lace this counts as, but the holes in the middle of the lace sort of echo back to the polka dots. Overall, I'm really happy with it, and it's very much sweet, but it can also be kind of classic, like, excuse me, it'll never disappear and become a classic garment, absolutely, but it can be sort of a sweet classic type piece with the coloration. And then what's cool is, if they ever restock this dress in the other colors, it also comes in pink and more brighter pastels. And if you were to find that dress in a brighter pastel, then it becomes full on sweet. So it's one dress, but depending on which colorway you get in, it can sort of run the gambit between different things. Alright, moving on. Now this is going to run longer than part 1, but I think I'm just going to keep going because I don't want to break this up too much. So this next dress is a dress that I've pretty much heard in the community. Everyone's like, oh no, that doesn't look good. Nope, nope. But the reality is the stock photo on Bodyline's website is pretty bad, so you just can't tell. It came in 2 colorways, a white colorway, or it's a white beige colorway, and a black colorway. I've seen people who bought the black colorway and then posted photos, and it seemed like it was a nice dress, but nobody has talked about the white version. So I bought the white version, partially, I know this sounds weird, but it was kind of for the lulz of it. Like, I've been wondering so bad, I was willing to spend $20 to find out the truth behind it. And then another thing that attracted me to it is that this dress has a lot of colors in it. I mean, you've got some teal, you've got some red, you've got even a tiny bit of magenta, you have cream, you have like ivory, and there's also like a bit of black in there and a bit of brown. There's so many colors, and there's several shades of green and pink, And I really kind of wanted this because I felt like it would be so versatile, and that's a huge thing that attracts me. You'll find in the future is that if something's hugely versatile, I'm all over it. So let's unfold this creature and see what we actually got. Okay, some of the lace is questionable, some of it's pretty shiny, but some of it's good. So, I'm gonna turn around. So here we go. Alright, first off we have white fabric buttons. These are buttons covered in white fabric. And we have lace that runs along the bodice. This is good lace, and you can tell it's good lace from a lot of different points. First, it's sturdy, like I'm touching it, and it doesn't seem like it's going to dissolve anytime soon. It doesn't have any shine to it. The flowers on it look almost like lilies, kind of. These big star-shapey flowers, and it has like these little dots on top. And this one, I would say is more curve conscious, like the way it bunches in the center. I'll have to try it on, but it looks like it's trying to be a tiny bit more curvy. So you have these straps, and then at the end of the straps you have like this frill, and you have lace on here. Now this is the questionable lace. This lace, you can't tell on camera probably, but it is the tiniest bit of shine to it. Depending on how it's paired, this may or may not be acceptable. What I've seen online is a lot of people take the sleeve and they rip out this one seam here and they pull out this frill and then they sew it shut again, so you just have two straps without the frill on it. So here's the top, and it's very it looks like it's very structured, or it wants to be very structured. It's not like the usual just princess seaming on most things with, you know, that it wants to be very bodycon, I guess a bodycon Lolita dress, if that's possible. It has a detachable bow like the other dress, but they actually pinned it onto the dress this time, which is kind of weird to me. I'm not going to keep this bow as is. This bow is immediately going to be processed. I don't know in what sense, but I'm going to take it apart immediately. I don't like this huge chunk of white with the white lace. And then this here, it feels very Attack of the late earlies into the 90s. I mean, late 80s into the 90s kind of thing. And so this is not going to hang out. I probably am going to replace the buttons as well, but it's not so much because the buttons don't match. It's because I have a huge expansive collection of buttons, and I probably just want to do like a simple customization job on it. So moving down, we have multiple layers. This actually reminds me a lot of like Gunnie Sax and Laura Ashley. That's what it reminds me of the most. It's really Gunnie Sax, Laura Ashley, a bit of the 1970s prairie girl look. It still has a bit of the shiny lace on here. It's not super iridescent though. I would say probably if this was the black version, which would have black lace and also black solid fabric, that probably shines more. The white doesn't seem to be shining too much. It doesn't grab my attention. Overall, I actually really like this. Because it appeals to a lot of aesthetics to me beyond Lolita. Like, it's a Lolita shaped dress in every sense of the word, of the concept, but it hits me as it's reaching further back beyond Lolita, like it's reaching into the trends that inspired the Lolita street fashion. And I kind of like that. The back goes down very low on this one, and so I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of fit. The straps have a button here, and they have two buttonholes, so you can adjust the straps. I would also imagine, depending on your body shape, if you wanted to add one more strap to make it fit even higher up, that wouldn't be hard at all if you have a machine that has a buttonholer attachment. Or if you have a friend with a sewing machine, if they know how to use their sewing machine fairly well, they could probably add a buttonhole for you, and it wouldn't be much of a problem. The only thing I would suggest is the manufacturer used a neutral sort of taupey color for the threading here, and I would do the same. I would not use white thread, because you can see here how the white just stands out. So if you used white thread for a buttonhole, people might actually see it, and that wouldn't be so good. But overall, pretty happy. So you got multiple tiers of frill, and oh, it looks good. And all of these are really nice and lightweight. With Lolita fashion, you want to try to not get super heavyweight materials, because it will squish your petticoat. I bought from a secondhand store a velvet Lolita skirt by one of the other Lolita brands, and it's a wonderful skirt, but my homemade petticoat isn't strong enough to counteract it. If you get a heavyweight material dress or skirt, you have to make sure that you get like one of those more industrial petticoats. I made my petticoat at home. It's made out of cotton. I can always throw it in the washing machine whenever I need to. But because of that, it's lightweight and it's just not as tough and as if I had gotten one from maybe Classical Puppets. So keep that in mind. Lightweight material is better. Not cheap material, just lightweight. You can have high quality lightweight material, and that's what I'd always suggest to aim for. So last JSK. This one I sort of got as a formal dress, and I know when you look at it you might not understand, you might say like, that's not super formal. But what I mean is it's more dressy than the other two. The other two feel very daytime, and this is starting to get into, to me, excuse me, more of a nighttime look. This one does not come with a detachable bow. I don't know why, because to me this one to me you would definitely want it, because I feel like the print's very unique, and so and by unique I mean both the color combination and the print type. Like, to find this exact print in the fabric store would be very difficult. To find that cafe latte polka dot in a fabric store, not so hard. It would be hard to find the right size polka dots, but white on that kind of mocha color wouldn't be difficult. This one, if you wanted to make accessories of the exact fabric, it would be almost impossible. So here we are. This one is obviously kimono-inspired. It's a very Japanese print. And I kind of like this, I really like this idea because it reminds me of Meta. Metamorphos, it has a slightly complicated name. It's a Lolita brand that every year they like to put out one Lolita dress that's in a kimono, a Japanese kimono type pattern. And so this is like sort of Bodyline's attempt to do a Metamorphos-y kind of idea. And I wouldn't say that they're copying them at all. It's just they're kind of going with the thought, I would say. The lace here is very nice. What's funny is there are two kinds of shines to lace. There's like the cheap shine, and then there's the it's so good quality it shines little. Only problem here, this is a little detached. So I'm going to have to either fix it or do something about it. That makes me a little bit grumpy because it means I can't wear this right away. I'm going to have to fix it. You'll find with Bodyline most of the time there aren't errors. This is the first error I've ever really run into. My last order had no errors in it, and I ordered 2 one-pieces and a pair of bloomers and a few other things, and there were no problems. This one, we've got a bit of detached lace, so 1 out of 2 orders I've had an error. I don't know how high the error rate is, but in general I don't hear about it too much. I do hear that there's obviously a difference between when like brands do a dress, there's never an error, or if there is, it's like 1 in a bazillion. But so Bodyline probably has a higher error rate than brand, but it's still overall probably pretty low. So I really like the print. We've got white, we've got peach, we've got red, we've got lots of stuff going on, lots of warm colors. This also comes in a navy and a pink. The pink is very bright and pastel-y, and then the navy is a lot like this. It feels more refined, I guess. So let's look over the details. We've got waist ties, which are attached, and they go out, and they have a cool frill on the bottom. It's a ruffle, and you turn it around, and the ruffle is not lined, but the tie is, the pattern is sticking up on both sides, so that's good. The back, just like the others, it has shearing. Shearing actually feels like it might stretch more. That's weird. It just feels a little stretchier. I do like with this one that the ribbon is more tonal. This is actually a dark chocolate ribbon, which on the camera might not match the dress, but in person matches it much better. So I really like that versus the white ribbon. Gonna have to do something. One reason why I really like this dress is it has a lot of pin tucking details instead of lace. It has lace at the top, but then actually everywhere else but the bodice doesn't have lace. Instead it has pin tucking to differentiate between the tiers of fabric. And then the last tier ends with 3 rows of pin tucks and then a ruffle. So I really like that because sometimes if you have a lot of lace on something, the lace can catch on things, and I kind of like that on this one the lace is on the top, sort of around your neck and your face, and so typically things don't get like caught around here, excuse me, but if the lace is running like on the bottom of the skirt, excuse me, it might get caught, and so I really like that. I'm not sure about on the bodice. You have 3 rows of ribbons. From what I can tell looking at them, they're actually, I'm gonna look on the other side. Okay, looking inside out, they're sewn on pretty well. So I'd say these probably will never fall off if you leave them on. Oh, and they're the same ribbon color as the lacing in the back, so actually that's pretty good continuity. The lacing doesn't quite match the dress, so it's good that it matches the bows. You know, that adds to sort of the streamlined feel. My advice is if you want to keep the bows, it'll look great. If you don't want to keep the bows, I would say you have to put a decorative button on top, or you have to put a different bow on top, because they've stitched this on in a very sturdy way, and so if you were to take the bow off, this will leave holes in the fabric. There's no way this is not going to leave some kind of a damage mark on it. So you definitely want to put something over it, and you can be very creative if you want to do that. Or like me, I'm going to try this on. I'm probably going to leave the ribbons on as is until or unless I find some kind of embellishment that just like totally blows my mind. I have to do it. As far as accessories, my plans for this one is that I'm going to, I bought this, and I know this is going on long, so we're going to get to the last item in a second, but I just want to note that you can find at craft stores these interesting sets that help you learn how to fold fabric into flowers. It's a very Japanese art form-y kind of thing, and I'll put a link below to some kind of a book or something that describes this. But I was thinking about, I bought a few of those for an unrelated reason, and I was thinking of actually finding fabrics that match the colors in the JSK, and then making those Japanese foldy flowers as like a headdress kind of a thing. Like maybe I'll get a headband, and then I'll just plunk a few flowers of different sizes and colors and textures onto that to tie back. So this one I'm very happy with. It has one little repair job, which is going to be annoying, but it's not going to take very long at all. It's going to take like less than an hour to fix that, but so very happy. Okay, last item. I know this is so long. This last item is a classic Lolita favorite. A lot of people who are getting into classic Lolita and who shop at Bodyline tend to get this skirt and tend to get this colorway, and I don't blame them because it's really nice. Oh, and one thing I want to note, so back to that idea of, you know, buying things that are very obviously Lolita. This is one of those garments. This is a high-waisted skirt. So it has, like, imagine you cut off a corset and you only use the lower half of that corset. That's what the waistband of the skirt is. It's like half a corset. So it'll end like right where your ribs start, or like right over the first rib. I really like that it has a lot of shirring on the front, and also, okay, it doesn't have, no wait, no, this is the back. Yeah, I think this is supposed to be the back. You could probably wear it both ways. And then this is the front. And the front has, this is actually very unusual, but for Bodyline, but this is good. This is dyed to match laces. I notice in general they tend not to have a lot of dyed to match elements. And so that's very nice that actually the ribbon matches. And this is like a shoelace, so this is going to be very good. And the grommets that it's connected to are very nice grommets. This piece feels very good quality, and again, it's super lightweight. Whoops. And it has 2 tiers of ruffles on the bottom. I really want to get a close-up of the color, because the one thing that's been bugging me a lot when I'm searching for reviews for different clothes and stuff is close-ups of the material to try to get an idea like how many colors are in there. So like, to me this has a lot to do with trying to think of what it is. I don't want to quite say Rococo, because it's not, but it kind of vaguely reminds me, it's more 1800s, like 1800s wallpaper, but but it's very neat. It's got like the super muted group of pinks and peachy colors, and then it has this sudden vibrant flamingo pink, and so it looks like this is faded, like it's old, and like it's been sitting around in the sun too much and it's gotten bleached. And not so much nowadays, but way back in the day, fabrics used to be more susceptible to paints used to be more susceptible to environmental conditions because they were made of really different chemical mixtures. And so some paints, some pigments would like fade out really fast, and then others were really strong. So this looks like a chunk of wallpaper that was just left out really long, and some of the colors are going and some aren't. This is the gray colorway. I would really say it has a lot of blue in it though. It's gray, but it has blue in it, and it's a light gray. So it's very classic in that feel, like it's very tony. I don't know what to call it. It feels great, very satisfied, and you know, people might yell at me, but I think that it could probably go both ways in terms of which one you would want to wear on the front, if you want to wear the shirring on the front or the lacing. I'd also like to note that there is some kind of boning going on here. I can feel some kind of boning, but I think it's plastic. I think it's probably machine washable, but I think, excuse me, you might want to put it in the wash by itself. I don't think you want it to be like running into neighbors too much when it's in the washer machine sort of spinning around. I think bumping into too many other garments could cause this boning to bend over. So I'd say keep an eye out on that. But overall, very happy. And that is the end of my haul. Any comments, questions, and whatnot, more than welcome. Again, I'm sorry for not being super duper pretty. I was just so excited to get this. I wanted to go over it really quick. And I'll try to put as much in the description as I can. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.